welcome to BlackShadow here, and this is the Salt Throne Tournament, a 32-man invitational being organised by Lannister for doing Imperium with the Rise of X and Immortality expansions. We did a live draw for the competition about last week or so, and there's a link in the description below if you want to go and check that out. Say 32 players, 8 groups of 4. The top 2 from each will go through to a semi-final, and the top 4 of them will go forwards to a grand final. There's no money as such on the line, it's all just pride and ego, as we have many of the most accomplished players in our community in this competition. Why I'm in it then, I don't know, but we're here. So here is the match. This is game B, or so I'm told, with myself, Badger, Patience, and the Dinosaur here. We would end ourselves in 4th position for this one, and as I'm recording this sort of post, and I was involved myself, like the ones I'm normally involved in, they're going to be coming sort of from my perspective, so I'm not going to be seeing everyone's cards here, only my own stuff, but it was an interesting enough game. I played it kind of belligerently, admittedly, but sometimes that's just what you've got to do, and as I say, coming into this, admittedly, don't have a lot of expectation of getting very far in this competition. There are people that are playing games, you know, daily, if not more so, and I just don't have the ability to do it, and that's the way it goes. Anyways, let's have a look at the opening table. Unfortunately, I didn't do a close-up shot of it, which is my bad. This is also the very first thing that I've recorded since both of those moves have happened, so if the sub's slightly funky, then I apologize in advance. Anyways, so obviously we're in 4th position, which means that we are going to be first to choose leaders. There's plenty going on, actually. Heck of a tasty row, actually. Liet Kynes, Gunfopter, and In the Shadows being the most remarkable cards, as well as the B'nai Tleilaxu Labs, and the Assassination Mission. You know, some decent cards there, can do a lot of things, some combat, some influence, some Tysos flows, a little bit of pieces for everyone. Not a sort of row I would expect to get atomics immediately. There's no like big cards, but someone might be scared of Liet Kynes, perhaps. You know, you'll see how it goes. The Tleilaxu row is kind of quiet though in the tanks. Face Dancer is pretty good for 2 specimens, but as we're in 4th position, we are almost never ever seeing that, so can't really rely on it. Wind Traps for 2 spice, get a water and get a water for each conflict we win, which, you know, could be pretty good. That can be quite a nice little tech actually for a player 4 to look to try and target some early combats and then use that water to press spice, that sort of thing. Invasion ships, very attractive, especially if there's going to be a lot of shipping fighting, and obviously the troops are just good. And artillery as well, which typically I would say is actually not that bad, although it's not a great row for it, but artillery with Gunfopter, you know, basically deploying a troop with 6 strength, yeah, that seems pretty decent. And here's the selection of leaders, and it was a little bit awkward for me, because you'd expect most of the time the 4 he's going to get chosen is going to be Beast, Ilban, Baron, and Ekaz, Armand Ekaz. A laser maybe rarely instead of Armand, but within the shadows on the front row, you'd expect that. Not ideal for 4th position either. You know, you could go for some bits and pieces. Again, Ilban's really is pretty strong in Immortality. But I go with the Beast, who having basically not played any Dune Imperium, I figured I'd go with what I knew. And Beast Rebellion in 4th, it's kind of fun, you know, you can, some runouts early, you can do some really funky things, you know, blast your way to Swordmaster immediately without shipping, you know, even early Highliners, things play out that way, so, you know, give yourself some options. We take the resources, and then the Dinosaur takes Ilban in 3rd. The Patience takes Baron in 2nd, and Armand Ekaz in 1st, as expected. It's a pretty standard opening as well. Ekaz here being played by Badger, trying to find a way not to use his ring, just to go smuggling and take In the Shadows, but obviously ends up just doing so. Baron goes Hardy Warriors for the combat. It is his best conflict, basically, the spice and influence bump. So immediate Hardy Warriors, obviously concerned with having me in 4th position. It's one of the reasons I also like taking Beast in 4th position, is you're pseudo putting pressure on the combat before any card's dealt, because people are scared of your ring, and that the fact you're going last. So it puts pressure on, especially if a Baron's going to get chosen, who obviously wants to take this conflict down to get hold of immediate shipping, means he's going to have to commit really heavily, because I can just barrel in with my ring and make life really uncomfortable. So Hardy Warriors it is. Ilban ends up going for Carthag immediately with his Signet Ring, which suggests to me that he's not really got any particular faction access. He's probably got both his daggers, is looking to try and get some value out of this, maybe target the couple of spice. Also, as well, makes things, getting a little bit more awkward for Baron. Doesn't particularly like it. Obviously, I would have liked Carfed to have been stayed there, but never mind. Our hand is kind of weird, actually, here as well, with our Diplo and Experimentation and the Dagger here, and 2 Convincing. So, decent Persuasion, yes. What I was partially hoping is if somehow Patience didn't go Hardy Warriors, I would have Hardy Warrior myself and then looked to reveal early to take Liet Kynes. And it's something I was still considering doing as well. The Emperor track is not a bad one to go for as the Beast. And obviously you want to get hold of Alliance pretty soon so you can get hold of your Signet Ring power. Challenging from an early is going to be difficult because obviously Baron has got a massive head start. So we just go for Steel Suits here. Again, threatening the Signet Ring here. You put just 1 troop in, getting the water means I can choke point some spice. It's going to be a pretty spice-heavy game, using that to maybe hit Conspire, maybe go for Haga Basin. Invasion Ship's also an option. And look to be pretty aggressive on that. And again, just putting in that 1 troop means that the Baron knows that I can just go to, like, Carfag and just throw in 5 dudes. And that's what I was threatening to do until, of course, Ekaz goes Arakeen, which is what I meant. And then it's like, oh, well, that's great. So that was that plan ruined. He also went and put in a couple of troops. People wanting the spice here as well. But again, just putting in the 1 troop, like, they're all a little bit pensive about that. It's an obvious setup play for the ring. So, alas. So, it is Arakeen for Ekaz. Baron has to put his extra troop in because he's obviously pretty scared about what I might decide to do. And obviously he wants to just guarantee winning to get hold of the shipping. Ilban has a little bit of a think about things and ends up going to the Haga Basin. You'd think, but he actually pulled Dispatch Envoy on that Carfax trip, which is outrageous. So he finds a bonus trip to Wealth to start getting Mentat, which is really brutal. Because that was something I was considering doing as well, looking up to try and take Mentat when possible to deny the Ilban, but so be it. But, at this point, I'm pretty happy. I want to keep my water. If there was some Solari involved in this combat, I might well have actually gone Great Flat immediately with my Experimentation to look to get hold of a couple of coins and then hit Conspire Swordmaster immediately, and basically no one can get Swordmaster before me. But I don't worry about it too much. I figure, well, I've got 5 Persuasion. I'm going to pick up Liet Kynes with possible intentions of picking up Spiceless Flows. Obviously, the Emperor Bump is kind of what I'm getting up for. And I might just use Liet Kynes as a Fremen visit. People don't do that enough. People just assume that she has to be revealed, but you don't have to reveal Liet Kynes. You can just play Liet for its own thing. And I was keeping my options open. Again, I was obviously looking to basically be a pretty aggressive in this game. And all these troops out early, like, I wasn't too against that. And obviously I have my ring coming up next, so I'm pretty happy at that. Ekaz picks up Assassination Mission and just goes all in on trashing, as you'd expect. So just looking to get his Swordmaster via that. Baron reveals for 5 and picks up Piter that just peels off here. Absolutely lovely. Convincing Argument does turn up on the row, but I didn't expect it to last long, and that's exactly what happened. Immediate smash by Dinosaur. Looking to finally get, he goes for Keys to Power, I believe, which is obviously good for him, because he's looking to go Emperor pretty heavy as well, to fund Mentat and look to challenge that alliance there. Nothing he played, so Patience gets what he wants, instant shipping, and we just kind of bide our time. So second combat is Victory Point, Desert Power, very, very juicy. So obviously makes Hardy Warriors very attractive for both myself and also for Ilban, and maybe Ekaz once in a blue moon as well. So I had a bit of fun here, actually. So Baron obviously just goes immediately to smuggling to just basically blockade all shipping. Not worried about that, so he's just going to go smuggle inside the shipping. Dinosaur actually ends up looking at my discard to just kind of see what I've got. So I decide, all right, okay, well, I'm just going to play my hand face up. I just turn my entire hand face up. Okay, I'll just, let's make sure we're all on equal footing here. So I just decide, I'll just play my hand face up for this round. Should be all right. Everyone knows what I've got anyway, so I don't see any harm. It's just I just love mocking people who look at my discards. Whether it's on stream, in games, say, this is a tournament game. You're right, yeah, that's all right. I'll just play my hand face up. I mean, it's my choice. And Patience kind of approved it as well. I haven't played a game with Patience in a long time, and he did say he missed me, which was very heartwarming. So we've got an interesting spot here early. We've got the victory point for Desert Power. which again really favors going Hardy Warriors. Now, I'm kind of in a weird spot here where I could go for that. And obviously with my ring and Seek allies, like I'm threatening all sorts of violence. And if Ilman wants to get hold of this victory point now, he's kind of got to go ahead and Hardy Warriors immediately. And he has got both his faction access cards. Remember, he did not go to Wealth with a faction card. He pulled Dispatch immediately, which is pretty disgusting. So Ilman decides he's going to get in front here and just bomb Hardy Warriors immediately. Again, my ring's there, my dagger's there, and it's kind of uncomfortable for him. So he has kind of little choice but to just throw it all in here, which is fine. So as for myself, I'm trying to work out what to do here. Obviously, I've not got a very high persuasion hand, which is admittedly a thing. I've got the water, though, to try to choke point Great Flat, so I can get either Conspire or maybe even the Highliners. It's an interesting spot here. Patience obviously has access to the shipping, so who is actually going to go ahead and deal with that? Ilban's not going to care. And being honest, when I play as Beast, I tend not to care about shipping either, so the emphasis is kind of in Kaz to do it, although he doesn't really want to. He's more interested in just trying to cut down his deck here, so, you know, it looks like Baron might get shipping for pretty much the whole game here, being brutally honest, and I was thinking, I don't think anyone's actually going to get in the way for a long, long time, and even if he does, I mean, she's just sitting there. So pretty happy times for the Baron. But it's also kind of tricky as well. So I want to get the Great Flat Spice, but I need Spice more immediately. And I figure, well, it is Desert Power, and maybe there's a world I can get second spot here and basically get hold of Hager Basin now and also get hold of Great Flat next round. It's very possible. And the ring is obviously very, very potent and very scary. And I do want that Spice immediately. So it's Hager Basin. I put in the one dude, again, threatening, you know, I'm threatening Carthag, I'm threatening Arakeen, just threatening making the Count's life kind of miserable here. So I'm basically telling him, you've got to go to Carthag, otherwise I'm just going to punt it with my Recon, and what are you going to do about it? Like, I don't have to use my Seek allies right now. I'm not obliged. Ekaz goes immediately to selective breeding, so Badger deciding he's just going to trash his deck basically down to as small as he can as quickly as possible, and use that to, I guess, basically just get the most out of In the Shadows, get it online as soon as physically possible here. Baron, as mentioned, obviously going for the shipping, just going to cement his spacing lines, which is in absolutely no danger. And then it is back to the dinosaurs. So he knows what I'm threatening. And he knows that it's kind of uncomfortable. He kind of wants to obviously be looking to hit Mentat as much as possible, but, you know, then he's just offering up Carthag to me. Again, pretty uncomfortable here. But decides that he's not going to do it instead. Instead, he reckons, well, I'm actually going to go ahead and go to Steel Suits here, and the intention being he's going to win the conflict and then pick up Great Flat immediately next round, which is pretty reasonable, and I did leave that open. But I wasn't too worried about it. If I can pick up some water, I can use it later on, maybe for some research stations, or hostaging, kind of whatever, basically. So I wasn't too worried about this. I get offered Mentat, which I do, again, just to kind of, looking to get hold of second spot here. So I actually have to, like, start cycling my hand now. Means I won't see my Signet Ring for a little bit, but it's not a big deal early. Seeing your Signet Ring, it's one troop, it's not a big priority. You want to get those alliances on the way first. It also prevents Ekaz from trashing out of his hand here, because I figured Ekaz wants to go Mentat and then somewhere else, basically, like, you know, Mentat, Imperial Basin, whatever. And by me going Mentat, that denies that trash, which obviously he's trying to go really hard on. So he just goes to base and puts the dude in, and we go to the reveals. Worth noting that Patience went up on the Talaxu track, so he was after Face Dance. Again, pretty good card. Twisted Mentat turns up here, which is potentially really good. I mean, in Ilban's hands, also Ekaz's a bit, but in Ilban's hands, that's a very dangerous card here. There's the two daggers from Ilban, so I'm like, cool, you have fun with that. I was never interested in trying to get involved in trying to win this combat. Fine, I just got to bide my time. So I'm pretty sure I just hit Conspire immediately, and I figure, right, well, if I'm going to get an alliance, it's going to be the Emperor, so let's just bomb it. This also gets me towards looking to threaten Swordmaster, so we hit it. Pick up the Secret Forces, which is about as bad a card as I could see. Pretty disappointing there, for sure. I mean, like, how am I ever going to get to High Council in this game? I have got the Kinds, admittedly, and I could go down that route. It's not outrageous, but I think it'd be fine. Ekaz reveals for 5, hits the row here, picks off some interesting cards here. So with the Water Peddler turns up, which is obviously very tasty. Spiritual Fervor as well, if you want to look to try and make an early barrel for Twisted Mentat. The Boundless Ambition comes up as well, which is a massive card, by the way. That is like one of the Beast's best cards in the entire game. Obviously, I can't get a hold of it right now. But that with the Signet Ring, very, very dangerous. So, but 5 Persuasion here. Obviously, Badger was hoping to get hold of something a bit more better than this, but he decides to go with it anyway. So picks up the Peddler for the 1, getting hold of the water. So all of a sudden, me worrying about like Spice is like, it'll be fine. He sort of mentions about the ring, but obviously the Boundless Ambition is a pretty not very good card for Ekaz here, realistically. So goes for the Peddler. And then with his other 4 Persuasion, I think he picks up Spiritual for the punt? Or did he pick up Guild Admin? No, he only just picked it up. Wow. I really thought he picked up something else. I guess he didn't. So all that Persuasion not really doing a lot. Oh, well. We reveal, tying up that. We go for Shout Out Mape. Shout Out Mape's pretty fun card. The plus sword is nice, but it's being able to deploy or retreat a troop just gives extra flexibility. Again, as Beast, you can throw around a lot of aggression, a lot of troops anyway, so I can be a lot more liberal in my use of them. Say with my ring, I can be more aggressive, kind of shutting people out early, and use Shout Out Mapes to then pull a troop back when I think I'm good. Just keeping people on their toes and keeping them fairly honest. It's a tricky little card. And we tied to pick up the Loose Spice, which is like fine. We could have done with the water, but it's not a huge deal. I'm not going to need the water for much anyways. Also worth noting is that so far in 2 rounds, no one's gone Fold Space. It's completely ridiculous, right? The Baron's got 3 bumps in the shipping, and he's never even gone there. It's completely absurd. So third combat is the raid stockpiles for the Spice and Intrigue, which isn't ideal for me. Obviously, this is one I was looking to target with my troops ready from Conspiring. Was hoping for a victory point, didn't come up. What can you really do? Because Hardy Warriors was going to seem a fairly automatic way to proceed. So I was like, okay, so be it. It is Ilban up first here. So Ilban's kind of forced himself to go to Great Flat immediately here. He's kind of pigeonholed because Ekaz has the extra water from the Peddler. So Ilban's not really got a lot of choice and has to go for that. So we've got an interesting hand here as well. So we've got the Kynes. And as mentioned, we currently don't have any Fremen cards, so she's just kind of a 2 reveal or use her for some action, basically. And I think that's what I end up doing here in a bit. We go to Wealth first, though, again, looking to try and cement the Emperor Alliance. It also puts Ekaz in an awkward spot because he figures, well, if he just goes and cashes in his smuggling, I'm now getting ahead of him for Swordmaster, and I'm hoping that Badger doesn't realize that I don't actually have any access to the Swordmaster here. And I'm like, please be good. Please don't look at my deck. I'm not tabling my hand this time. But he ends up doing, I think he smuggles and just keeps, he just takes the bump up, I believe, after a bit of he was already kind of remissing what was going on. No, he goes to Selective Breeding again, smashing out the Peddler immediately, so just going all in on water. I'm guessing the intentions of going to Research Station later on, which is not a bad thing. Recals was going to pick up some Spice and Flow points, seems reasonable. No one has gone to Fold Space, so Baron is just being allowed complete total access there, which is like, okay, sure, I'll just lock up that Unfold Space, and I'm gonna get access to Swordmaster immediately as well. Yeah, pretty easy game. So Ilban is sitting there with 6 Spice, which means that he is threatening Highliner at some point. But I figure, well, he's not threatening it now, and I'm not worried about the Mentat getting some position. I figure, I'm not too worried about it. So we end up doing what I suggested I was going to do earlier anyways, and what people I don't think do enough. And we just figured, there's just usually at Kynes, let's get the faction events going. I don't really have anything else to do here. Let's just Hardy Warriors and send dudes in. I didn't need to send in all 4. I was a bit worried about what the Baron was going to do. I was also doing this in a way just to try and say, basically tell Ilban, don't highline now. I probably could have saved a troop back, but again, you're Beast. You can kind of get away with just being really liberal with your troops here and just kind of throwing them around and just saying, well, what are you going to do about it? It does mean we're also waterless, and Ekaz has full monopoly of all water on the planet at the moment. But unfortunately, there's not really any use for it at the moment. There's no spice built up. Research Station this early isn't really doing a whole lot either. So it's like, not a big deal. So through the rest of the round here, Ekaz does go smuggling and just bumps up in the end, deciding obviously there's no point cashing in because I'm just going to get the Swordmaster before him. Baron grabs his Swordmaster with his signet ring. Ilban goes conspiring as well. There was a lot of conspiring action in this game here. Again, getting troops ready and obviously arming up his Swordmaster so he can get ahead of me. I'm not too worried about this, to be honest. Like, people are kind of getting in front of me with bits and pieces. I'm like, I'm not really that fussed. So we reveal for the 5 persuasion, which means, hello, Boundless Ambition. You look pretty tasty. We're gonna have some fun here. So we get that. Ekaz reveals for 2, a pretty sad 2 actually. He's got 4 swords here and no troops in, and he never at no point found a way to get any dudes in. So those 4 swords just kind of do a whole lot of nothing. The Solari's a case of use. So that's nice, but he can't even trash the assassination mission at the moment because he has no ability to do so. Because he didn't put 2 troops down on non-faction space, or 2 agents for non-faction spaces. So, kind of a bit of an awkward start as a Badger, kind of making his life difficult. Doesn't buy anything in the end. Saidina as well on the opening row, which is pretty insane. And Ilban is going... Ilban's next to reveal here. Patience has a bit of think about it as well. He does talk about this. And he talks about whether he blows up the row and not allowing Ilban to get hold of Saidina. But he reckons, well, Ilban's got no water. So it's going to be kind of difficult for him to get a lot of value out of Saidina. So Omni decides not to get rid of anything there, which I think is not unreasonable. And you can see him just thinking about it here. He's like, does he smash it out? But he's like, it's not... You know, if you just peel off another good card for him, you know, it's not great. He might be able to get hold of power play, perhaps, but, you know, you just kind of got to do what you got to do here. It was 6 reveal for the dinosaur, and he does go for Saidina, looking to get hold of some Fremen Bond, probably. It's going to be kind of hard for him to get any actual Saidina points, but it means he's going to be pretty much attacking the Fremen Alliance, but Baron is ahead of him in turn order, so it's hard for him to actually take the Alliance, so it's a bit awkward going for the Spice Must Flow strategy instead, which is totally fine. And then Baron reveals for 5 persuasion with his 2 cards, pretty juicy. So we'll take the power play, which is always pretty nice to have. We win the contest. We win the Battle 1 contested. Taking ambush again. Like, we should put in 1 less troop, but it's like it's not a big deal. So round 4, and I'm still kind of trying to be aggressive with combat, and it's not any victory points again, which is like ugh. It is Trade Monopoly, which is pretty decent, and obviously there's a couple of people who would very much like that right now. But nothing much you can do about it. I'm not getting Swordmaster. I don't even pull any counter access here, which is pretty unfortunate, so I can't even go for Mentat here. So I'm just like, well, all I can really do is just just build up here. So I end up going for, I believe, my 2nd Conspire in like 2 rounds, and I end up barreling this out here, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly. After a bit of a tank, I think about it for a while, and here we go, yeah. So 2 Conspires of me, 3 for the table, giving me the Emperor Alliance, which is obviously good. I've got 2 rings to power, so I've just got to barrel it and say what you can do about it. And obviously, we are garrison up for dudes and ready to rock and roll here. We do end up pulling Finesse as well as our Intrigue. Really, really fun Intrigue, very flexible. Also, as it turns out, really good for the Emperor, because you can easily go down and up with the Emperor specifically to get hold of extra troops in the combat. And there's worlds where I am considering going for the Fremen Alliance again with Shout Out Mapes and such. So, you know, there are worlds that I might try to take advantage of that, get hold of 2 alliances, and make life pretty awkward for people. Ekaz just smuggles, because obviously he doesn't have any access to insider shipping. He takes the cash. Obviously he's going to have to wait for a little while for Swordmaster, though. Ilban is going to have to go there immediately, which is obviously not surprising. Ekaz gets his 4th specimen up as well, kind of considering what he wants to do in regards to Twisted Mentat. I don't think Twisted Mentat is alright for Ekaz, but obviously it's pretty expensive. The problem is Ekaz is spending so much effort trying to get his deck trimmed. Twisted Mentat doesn't really make a lot of sense. That kind of helps when you've got a bigger sort of deck. And if he's just going for like a 6, 7, 8 card deck, then Twisted Mentat isn't really doing a whole lot for you, because you're never revealing for everything, and it's just impossible to ever get any Spice Must Flowed. So takes his shipping bump with the Bene Gesserit here. So it's halfway into the 4th round, and already 3 alliances are gone, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, really. More shipping, obviously, from the Baron. No one's contesting it. He goes up and down and takes the wind traps here. Again, trying to keep that out of the way, hands of Ilban, which makes good sense. He's probably not going to get a ton of value of it himself, but it just denies Ilban getting hold of that. And it might peel off some interesting text there. Finds Chalmurky on the top there, which is pretty good. So there is money all over the place here. And Baron figures, well, should I go for the Fremen Alliance now? I'm kind of unsure what to do. I mean, you probably got to go Fremen now if you want any chance of trying to get hold of it. But he decides to hold back for the time being, kind of seeing what Ilban's going to do. He's got his power play as well, so he doesn't have to go like all in on the Fremen. So I don't hate that. So Ilban gets Swordmaster, again, very standard. And again, I'm like, why can't I have access to Menta? It'd be absolutely beautiful for me. But what can you do? So it's a bit of a tricky spot here. We've got obviously a load of money. But we've got no spice, no water, which is uncomfortable. This is a combat I also want a piece of as well, though. Trade Monopoly could be pretty useful for me. And it's also good just to deny that to other people, even if I don't get a lot of use myself. In theory, I can just trade Monopoly, and at some point later in the game, I can just experiment to smuggle. I've made no Talaxu progress at this moment, so I'm thinking, well, I'm going to need to probably do 3 researches to get hold of my Talaxu points. So one of those can be my smuggle with my experimentation later on in the game, just to cash in a bump and whatnot, and just kind of do like an ancillary sort of move. So I figure, well, I mean, I can still go for it, but the question is, where do I go here? Secret Forces obviously is basically going to be in hand probably for the rest of the game. It's pretty screwy. Ambush is nice though, and Finesse is really, really important though. So I'm kind of considering, well, do I go Carfag? The problem is, obviously, you don't know what you're going to draw, and if I do get stuck, like, Secrets is going to have value in this game, probably, because people are going to be looking to hit it, and the people will Secret Steal here in this game, so I'm kind of a little bit put off from Carfag, and Shut Up Mate is going to be pretty useful as well for this, so I end up going for the Siege here, and I figure, well, I'm just going to go for this here, and look to get some value out of this, kind of play it a little bit long ball. Again, I've got troops to throw around, so I'll be fine. Ekaz Mentats. The other issue I've kind of got as well, and it's kind of a weird one here, is the fact that I don't have any, because I've lost an action economy, because I'm not going to see Mentat often, and I don't have my Swordmaster here. So kind of what Shut Up Mates kind of does, it allows me kind of like a half a move on my reveal. Obviously, because I can put in the troop or take out the troop, so it's not quite a proper agent move, but it kind of gives me a little bit of flexibility. So if someone just suddenly jams in heavy over me, I can at least pull a troop back, or I can put a dude in. So again, just that flexibility. I'm kind of having to rely on a bit of a crutch here, but it's not great. So high counter got taken by the Baron, which was a little bit unusual. I didn't expect. I think he was getting this trying to basically deny it to Ekaz, mainly, I think is what was going on. But I can't quite recall. Also, just trying to keep it out of people's hands. If he goes, well, I might be able to pick up a loose spice. I mean, he's obviously got Piter, so he's thinking, well, I can use that and like get hold of a spices flow. Something like that would be pretty good. Ilban goes to selective breeding with keys to power, so basically gets the selective breeding on the house. Pretty good. We reveal for persuasion and the sword and the specimen. So I've got 4 specimens as well here, and I do have a consideration about going for the Twisted Mentat. It's not a card I would normally take as beast, although having those actions is obviously pretty nice. But again, like, it's round 4, and I have made absolutely 0 Talaxu progress, which is obviously a great concern. Like, I've got to get hold of that first point. We definitely put the troop in. Again, we've got troops to flex around with. We've got intrigues. We can make life really difficult. Just looking to basically just clamp down on Trade Monopoly and get hold of value of that probably later on. But we do think about it a little bit. We've also got 4 persuasion to buy as well. So I've got some options. Spice Trader's not looking too bad. Obviously, I've got that, so I can discard for getting hold of some spice. But it's tricky, though. I've got Liet Kynes, so I'm like, I mean, kind of, am I not supposed to buy a Spice Flow somewhere? Even though I've got that. Spiritual Fervor could also be of some use, but I don't think it's that good for me right now. I'm not really worried about accelerating through the track, so I trashed the row. Looking for something better. Other Memory is also potentially good, but I don't have anything good for it here. And this is what we peel off here, and it's, kind of tricky. Court Intrigues, pretty nice. It also means, Court Intrigue's funky, because I have the finesse, so I could actually finesse away from the Emperor track now, and then that's my insurance policy to protect my alliance. And I can also look to use that to shift out secret forces, say, for something else. But I'm not sure anyone else is going to pick it right now. The thing is that Gil Bankers is right there, and I have Liet Kynes. I'm like, how do I turn this down? I can't get Stilgar, I don't have enough for it. Trom Delegate's out there as well, but I don't care for it at all this game. It's not relevant to me. I'm never going shipping. Only one person going shipping, so Trom Delegate has very little value at this moment because no one's doing anything about instead of shipping. That's what it all gets used for. So we tank about it for a little bit and decide, well, Gil Bankers is a little bit too strong to go for. We peel off the voice, which is a bit of a shame. Would have liked that, and we figure we'll get a beetle. We got to start making progress. I don't need to make troops right now out of the tanks. We just got to start making progress here and rocking on. So Jamis for Ekaz. So Ekaz, again, he was considering, I think, going Hardy Warriors here, and looking to use that to, obviously, with Jamis, to just take the combat down. But again, shout out Mapes, that extra deployment, just making life difficult for him. He ums and ahs. And he ends up deciding he wants the trash, which is what he's kind of after here, just trying to thin his debt down. And he ends up just spending his water here just to get rid of his ring, and just basically just put like a dude in and just kind of garrison up a bit. I do wonder, and I suspect if I hadn't have gone in with the extra shootout mates, I'm pretty sure he would have just barreled in here. But it's kind of hard for him to do it now. This also kind of tells me that he's very unlikely to have any combat cards in his hand of any particular significance. So, you know, I'm kind of feeling decent about that. Baron goes for wind traps. Start again. So Baron goes for steel suits here, looking at a whole bit of water, and just trying to look to pick up the spare intrigue as well. He's a decent reward, and again, if he wants to go for this alliance, he's kind of got to do it now. Again, he can't expect to ever win the combat. I'm sitting there with intrigues and such, and obviously it's one he would like, but I don't know. I wonder if he would have gone Hardy Warriors if Ekaz hadn't done. Don't know. Ilban just picking up spice here and accumulating, which is totally fine. And then we get to more reveals here. Ekaz reveals for 5 and a specimen. He's up to 5 cubes now. Picks up Stilgar, which is obviously a pretty decent card. He's going to try and make some use out of, but I don't think it's the best thing for him at the moment. I mean, is he considering fighting Fremen Alliance? Everyone's kind of got a reason to go for Fremen Alliance here. It's very highly competitive, and it's the only one alliance that's still open at this point, so goes for that. He's obviously got a ton of specimens. He needs to start using them, and he does use one for the Talaxu. Fairly likely to get to the bonus spice first, you would imagine. He's eyeing up, again, Twisted Mentat, and he talks about it for quite a while, but for the reason I mentioned earlier, decides against it, figures it's not going to help him enough in this game, so doesn't worry too much about it. And just trashing out just his entire deck here. Basically, I don't know about getting rid of the convincing thing. I want to consider keeping that, but oh well. Baron reveals for 5, picks up the Chome Delegate, which is just not really doing anything at this point, but might be useful later. Picks up Voice, which is a much better card for him, though. Just basically using that to probably just try and slow other people down. Patience, you know, feeling pretty good about things. I'd say that at this point the game's probably fairly ish even, but even so. And then Ilban revealing for only 4, the Fremen for Saladin. It does not count here, unfortuitously. And I figure, well, he's probably just going to start hitting liaisons here, you would imagine. And he kind of does. He's looking at Spice Hunter, which is not bad either. Actually, if you're going for Fremen reveals, the extra spices, not the worst. But just takes the liaison. I don't think he grabs the Hunter and decides not to. So me in first position. Looks like Badger and Patience were going to tie, but Badger was pretty suspicious that Patience actually had gruesome sacrifices. Yeah, I've got that. So everyone, they're pretty happy. Kind of not ideal for me. Means Badger gets a bit more value for his stuff. And Patience obviously just gets hold of his extra stuff there as well. So not perfect for me, but what can you do? But I still would take it down, and we're going to get some value out of this later on, you would imagine. So, round 5, and it is Cloak and Dagger. Now, this is a very tasty conflict here because there are intrigues people can use, and that influence bump currently is looking pretty good considering there's fighting for the Throne Alliance and all sorts of stuff happening here. So, while it's not a victory point, that bump has a lot of use, and people are obviously, there's a few tracks where people have not made any progress as well, so lots to fight for here. It is Badger up first as Ekaz. There's plenty of spices accumulated now on Haga Basin, which is obviously pretty tempting. Ekaz also has a lot of water here as well, so he's got to start justifying why he has all that. So Haga Basin looks pretty not unreasonable here. Again, no spice whatsoever. But the thing is, he's also looking at Swordmaster, and obviously he's concerned about the fact that I don't have that. I'm going to get that. So he goes for the Swordmaster first, which is good for me, because being honest, I wasn't really that interested in Swordmaster this game. I was like, I can live without it. I'll be fine. I'm just going to rely on my ring and Shadow Mate. Basically, just a brute force combat and basically use that to overcome any action economy. So it is Swordmaster for Ekaz, obviously in the shadows up and running. So now he's figures, well, no one else has done a damn thing about the Baron shipping here, so someone's got to do it. So Baron will smuggle again. I think he smuggles, I assume he's doing this just to stop me from cashing in, although I wasn't likely to go in for it this one. I was kind of like debating if I was going to go smuggling here, but obviously it's a natural move for me to look to do. So he goes smuggling and blocks up Fold Space, just trying to keep that as long as possible. Ilban grabs the Mentats, which I was actually considering getting hold of, but he gets there ahead of me, so I'm like, so be it. And then we get to me. So I've got Baron's Ambition. Baron's Ambition is now activated. The ring is looking absolutely juicy. And I don't think the Emperor Alliance is going to be in really any danger pretty much this entire game. I figure I'm probably going to be okay here. So I've got a decision to make. Do I go for the Throne Alliance? I have got Lietkind, I've got Shadow Mapes, I've got access to there, so if we want to go for it, I've kind of got to do it now. The other thing to also consider, again, is Cloak and Daggers. So if I just barrel Hardy Warriors here and just throw dudes in with Baron's Ambition, it's kind of difficult. But the other thing to consider, and as I mentioned, is that there's a load of spice at Haga Basin, and no one's gone for it, and I've only got one war, and I have no spice. And as I've also mentioned, I have to start making some research progress to Talactrack. It's round 5. I have not researched once. And I know I'm going to need probably 3 researches. One for the Specimen Cube, and then probably down for the two Talaxu Beetles. And then cashing in some specimens somewhere to get hold of my Talaxu points. I figure, well, I don't have to go that heavy here at the moment for the combat. If I don't go Hardy Warriors, I think someone else probably is going to go there. Ekaz, it seems pretty likely he might decide to do it now. But I'm happy to sit and wait. And besides, I can put my 2 troops in anyways at Haga Basin. So there we go. We get the research. We get 4 spice for a war, which is beautiful. And basically just kind of putting the troops in and saying, well, what do you want to do? Because they don't know what I've got. Also, I've got to be careful of the fact that Ekaz has Jamis as well. So even if I'd have gone Hardy Warriors, he could still have gone in there after me anyways. So I figure, kind of wait. And obviously he gets the trash on the assassination mission. I don't know really what it's doing now. I guess High Council has brought out it. More shipping from Patience. It's not an interesting game, but I mean, no one else was going shipping. So I mean, guess what you're going to do? He takes the bump with the Fremen pretty naturally, so he's obviously running with tons of water as well. And now things are a bit not ideal for me, but I've kind of just got to work things out as I go here. Again, like, I can go for the Throne Alliance here. Like, if I go in, like, say, Steel Suits with my ring and take this comment down, I've got Ambush as backup as well. I've got Finesse, I've got the bump. Like, I can probably try to take the point from Baron, because Baron is now favourite in this game, and I think that's, there's chances for other people, but Baron's looking pretty good here with 2 alliances. Someone's got to challenge one of these and do something about it, so I figure, well, it might be me, and I'm coming into this tournament with no expectations whatsoever, so I'm probably just going to have some fun in games here. It also puts his next action, also I'm thinking ahead for the Baron as well. Like, if I go for Steel Suits and I take the Comet down and take the Fremen bump, what does Baron do next round? Because he wants to go shipping, which is probably going to be taken away from now by Ekaz. But his Fremen Alliance is all of a sudden in great danger, so he might consider not going shipping. And I'm kind of obviously hoping that I do find my access to the Fremen, but we'll see how we go here. So, Steel Suits it is, with my ring. turning it into a Hardy Warriors where I gain water instead of spending it, which is pretty juicy. I throw them all in and say, all right, Yukaz, what are you going to do about it? The answer is, you're not going to do much about this, are you? Because you got other stuff you want to do. And he's, oh, great, that's not ideal. He's got nothing left in the tank here, so he has to go fold space to cut off the Baron. So I know that I can just go in heavy on this combat and just take it away from him, and there's not really anything he can do about it. It is risky, though, because obviously I am going to get a load of intrigues, and the problem with that is that I am going to be overflowing with them, and there is a huge risk that I actually get stolen from, and that is kind of scary. And again, Secret Foes I don't care, but Ambush would be kind of unpleasant, so... you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes and just kind of roll and take chances. Again, there is loads of secrets value. There's 3 people that have not got their 2 influence with the Bene Gesserit, so bags of value for this. And again, Baron's like, well, I'm just going to hold as many intrigues as I can and hope it all works out. Ilban goes to the selective breeding again. Been a lot of selective breeding action. It's been like 4 or 5 of those so far in this game. Kind of crazy. So we get the sword, reveal Liet, only worth the couple here, so 4 persuasion for us. No ability to trash anything now, so I've got 2 choices. I can either go Court Intrigue as my insurance policy for my Emperor Alliance and to look to try to shift out all these intrigues I'm about to get hold of if I can't really do much with them, or I go double liaisons and look to go all in basically with Liet Kynes and Spacing Guild and pick up a Spiceless Flow, maybe even 2 of them before the game is over if my drawing kind of comes out in a particular way. I think both are reasonable, and I figured if I don't get in Court Intrigue now, it's probably not... I'm not going to see it ever again. So I've kind of probably got to get it now, but I figure just the allure of having both Liet Kynes and Guild Bankers is a little too strong, so we go for the double liaison. I'm kind of trying to play this hybrid beast here, you know, I'm obviously trying to pick up a Spice of Low point, but still being aggressive in combat and trying to take them down. So I'm trying to take on a lot, but I've done this before. It's not my first rodeo, and I've had some success, including in competitions as well. I'll refer to one of the games I played in the GPI, where I pulled like 6 points or something in like round 7 as the beast with Spiceless Flows and combat and all sorts of crazy stuff. It was one of the best rounds of Dune Imperium I've ever played in my life, and I'm going to need a lot of those. I'm going to get anywhere in this competition. Anyways, so Baron reveals for 4 and doesn't really do a whole lot. Ilban using his action economy just to do some extra researching, and he is looking maybe to find a way to steal the extra whatchamacallit, Talaxu point spice from red, which, you know, there's well as it happens, and reveals for 9 or 10 or something. It's a Spiceless Flow, which is obviously what he's playing for. Picks it up there, pretty happy as Ilban. So we go to the conflicts, and I obviously just pass, expecting to take this down pretty regularly. I don't think Ekaz has anything really combat-related, and I think even if he does, I don't really expect him to do anything, because it's too easy for me to retaliate. I'm just sitting there with intrigues, I could have anything. So it passes around as expected. We pick up Gruesome Sacrifice and Refocus, which is... I mean, Refocus is like, whatever. Gruesome Sacrifice is pretty good, though, especially considering I am a long way behind with Talaxa research, and I'm the beast, so I can just throw troops in really aggressively. And it actually combines pretty nicely with, say, Shout Out Mapes. I can use that to put in extra dudes or take out extra dudes and use it to kind of supplant and try to be a bit greedy in a combat somewhere to win it and use Gruesome. And I can use Shout Out Mapes to assist with that. So, not the worst thing in the world. But obviously I'm sitting with 5 intrigues, and red now sitting there with 4 intrigues, which is pretty scary, and secrets value is just absolutely insane here, so I'm like, great. We do go for the Throwing Bump as well. I wanted the 2 water specifically because of the Great Flat, and I wanted to target that. So basically I'm just telling Baron, right, there's 3 things you want to do. You want to ship, you want to go to Great Flat, and you want to go hard. You want to go Throwing to protect your alliance. You can't do all of them, so what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with the situation? You have to give something up to me here, and, you know, I don't know what I'm going to draw here. I'm hoping for faction access. I don't find throwing access pretty heartbreaking, but I'm like, well, I can still maybe get to smuggling as well as it happens, so there's a lot going on here as the Baron, and Baron's sitting there thinking, well, I mean, Secrets is also looking pretty good value. You know, he's getting 3 intrigues for his troubles here, and the bump that he's going to require, so... Baron's got a lot of options, but they all have some drawbacks. Now, one thing I didn't actually notice in the game is that when it came round to me, I suddenly noticed that the Baron had a 5th throwing bump. I was like, what the heck's going on? Well, this is what happened. He got obviously positioned this. He got an intrigue for this combat, and look at this. pulls an intrigue from the top of the deck here, which he forgot to do, and hello, Fremen Bump. Brutal, right? What can you do about that? Absolutely nothing. So he's able to defend his Fremen Alliance anyways. Absolutely disgusting. I was like, well, what can you do? I couldn't actually do anything with Fremen Alliance as it turned out, but I'm like, well, what can you really do? So he smuggles again, just trying to slow me down. It's the only reason he's going smuggling. Like he also has Trome Delegate as well, so he doesn't even need to go into the shipping immediately anymore. So he's just trying to slow me down from just going smuggling. Though I don't think I actually smuggle in this game ever. I'm pretty sure I never actually got there in the end. So anyway, so he does that, obviously trying to slow me down, obviously protects his alliance. Ilban is now looking at secrets and thinking, well, there's tons of value here, and maybe there's worlds where I can actually challenge this alliance. I got keys to power, so secret it is. He takes it. He grabs hold of my refocus card, which I do tell the table, because I figure, all right, okay then. And I'm like, okay, so be it. He picks up a load of spice as well, which is unfortunate. But Great Flat's now sitting there with a ton of spice. At least I know I'm going to get hold of that, so I'm not complaining. But again, my hand is really awkward here. I can't use any of my cards, and Finesse I kind of want to keep hold of for the tier 3s, as ability to use that to go down and up with the Emperor again to get any more troops. I also might just need it, but I've made no progress with the Spacing Guild or the Bene Gesserit, and maybe it's a way for me just to sift away from the Fremen here, because although Baron is at 5 persuasion with the Fremen, he's going to have to do all 6 here, realistically, and he's kind of forced into it. So it comes to me. I can get Swordmaster whenever I want now, but there's no point me getting Swordmaster anymore in this game, because everyone else has got it, so I'd rather just live off Mentat if I'm ever going to go ahead and buy it. I've got my Signet Ring, obviously for extra aggression. It is terrible purpose. There is a victory point here, but it's going to be difficult for me to win it with action economy issues, and that I've got no troops in garrison. Height Council is not outrageous, actually, here, and I considered doing that because, obviously, it enables secret forces, and also will probably help in some degree with Liet Kynes and or Guild Bankers, but I figure I've got to get Mentat now, redraw, pick up Liet Kynes. I'm thinking, oh, that's juicy, because Liet Kynes and the Liaison together, that's 6 persuasion. Oh, I've got Guild Bankers, makes my spice cheap. Beautiful. So I know those 3 cards, if I just draw those 3 cards and reveal them, that's a spiceless flow. So I'm like, right, well, I'm going to use my experimentation, and I'm going to use my Signet Ring. Now, this is obviously dangerous, because I am worried that doing this is going to give Great Flat away to someone. Not Ekaz. Ekaz has to ship, but the Baron might decide to go for Great Flat here, and I am taking a gamble. It's a pretty good spot for him to do that, but I figure, well, what's the odds of him having 3 cards? Like, he'd have to have, like, 2 cards that get him to mining spaces and have Trome Delegate. It's kind of unlikely, and I think he's still going to go shipping instead of Great Flat. So I take a gamble, and also thinking, again, Baron also wants to protect his alliance and get hold of this victory point, so he just barrels in here with Hardy Warriors. Pretty standard. Also gets Diversion out of his hand. So everything looking pretty good. Baron definitely probably favourite in this game, I think, still. Ilban's sitting there with plenty of intrigues, but kind of not 100% sure what Ilban's trying to do this game. I guess he's looking to get hold of High Council, probably, and just buy loads of spiceless flows. He has no money. Is he really going to go conspiring again? I don't think so. So just another Imperial base in here with no spice. It's kind of bad here for Ilban. Not feeling too great, but obviously picking up that is now threatening Highliner. And again, Ilban needs to pick up that point with the Spacing Guild somewhen. So Highliner now being threatened, which makes things a little bit interesting for me. I was considering worlds where I just go in for this combat as well, but it's getting worse and worse as we go here. So we pick up Great Flat for the spice. And again, getting our second research. We pick up an intrigue here. We pick up Breakthrough, which is really good for me because it means I have less pressure of using my experimentations. And, you know, there's worlds where I might be able to use that. It's also interesting as well because one thing I'm trying to do is I know I can get hold of the first Talaxu bump, but I'm never going to get to the second. And it kind of makes it weird. Now that I've got Breakthrough and Gruesome Sacrifice, I've kind of got overflow of research, which I don't really know what I'm doing with it. So I'm now starting to think, well, maybe I can get a little greedy here. Maybe I can turn some specimens into some troops for like for the next round and just absolutely jam that combat, and then use Gruesome Sacrifice maybe. You know, if I just go crazy heavy in it with a Highliner or something, and then go so far in front they can't really do much about it, and then use Gruesome to plug away. And I've got Shut Up Mapes also in my deck somewhere. Like, I might be able to win the combat and use Gruesome Sacrifice at the same time, which means I can use Breakthrough to pick up some troops here. So there's some options here. Again, it's pretty greedy stuff, this, and I would not recommend doing this very often, but I'm like, what the heck, let's have a bit of fun here. You know, I'm here for some entertainment. So Ekaz tanks for forever here. Dispatch has plenty of a think about what his deck is, what's going on. At this point, his deck is like 6 cards, I think, at this situation. He's obviously spent his time trashing just tons of stuff here, and is looking specifically for In the Shadows. And the reason he is because obviously he is a little bit worried about his alliance here, and there's also he's got other sort of intentions in mind here. Badger's kind of not in a great spot. And he's trying to get himself out of a hole that he's kind of found himself in a bit here. He's got no troops. He's not really competitive in combat. He's not really challenging alliances. The one alliance he's got is not particularly safe. Ilban could really harass him there, which he's got full license to do. And it's like trying to... Armored Ekaz is like, where are my points coming from? I don't have enough persuasion in my deck to really buy Spiceless Flows. I'm not winning conflicts. And I can't really change any alliances here with In the Shadows, realistically. So it's like, well, what do I do here? It's not a fun spot for Badger at all. And he's been maybe slightly a victim of card draw, but, you know, the thing is, well, you know, when you trash your deck super thin, that can cause problems. He tries to pump up the Bene Gesserit first, which is obviously the one thing that he can't do, and I say to him, yeah, it's pretty illegal. So he changes his mind and goes for the Emperor instead. Charm Delegate for Baron. Again, pretty standard. He's eyeing up techs here. So he's got 2 choices. He's got Chal Murky or he's got Invasion Ships. Invasion Ships obviously gives him protection for shipping if Ekaz kicks on there first, but he's already got Charm Delegate. I mean, if I'm as Baron here, I think I'm going Chal Murky, I think, all day. I figure with Chal Murky, I'm just so favorite to win this game here. I've just got to win a tier 3 conflict, and I basically just win the game, probably. Almost certainly, because he's going to find his way to the Emperor and Bene Gesserit points. So he's going to get up to 6. He's got Pytra and High Counter. He's going to find a Spiceless Flow somewhere. He's got loads of intrigues. He can pick up loads of points of that. So I figure once he takes Chal Murky, I figure he's probably just... I wouldn't say won the game on the spot, but he's just even more concrete favourite in my opinion. I'm already at this point starting to think, well, I don't think I can win this. It's probably a fight for second for me now. He peels off, however, and this is very interesting. He peels off on the top deck Spy Satellites. And I'm like, oh, so you have now. Oh god, Ilban has got 6 spice. Oh boy. And I'm like, at this point, I'm basically thinking, I have to pivot now. Like, I was going to use my ring just to go do something, probably like siege or something, and just garrison up troops for later on. But suddenly, yeah, Spy Satellites turns out, I'm like, oh my holy god. This is, I mean, bear in mind, I have no progression with the spacing or Bene Gesserit. I'm like, this is an absolute... I was obviously getting a hold of loads of spice with intentions, maybe highlinering. But also, like, if decent techs come out, I can also threaten those. I've got loads of money. I'm not doing anything with it, so I can get hold of Dreadnoughts. And I can just be really, really tricky here. Interesting that Baron goes for the money there, not the spice. A little bit interesting. But Ilban does go for the highliner here, which is looks like it's pretty much premeditated here. I don't know if he had access to the council, but if he had it, he didn't use it. So I'm like, well, okay then. I know Guild Bankers and my other 2 cards is a Spiceless Flow, so let's just go get Spy Satellites and call that 2 points in the bag. I feel pretty happy about my life. It also kind of makes things a little weird, though. It makes Finesse kind of awkward. Finesse, obviously, I want to use for us down up again with the Emperor to put more troops in, but now I've got my Fremen Persuasion's doing nothing. But I can always shift away from Fremen to protect Emperor if that becomes under threat for whatever reason, though I still think I'm pretty likely to be safe here. We go for the Dreadnought instead, which is a little bit risky, because obviously this means that I'm not allowing myself access to Highliner, but I figure between both my rings and Finesse and ambush and stuff, I just figure, well, I think I'm in pretty good shape here, and I don't actually think I need Highliner to win any combats here. I think I can just do it myself. And again, I could still maybe go High Council to get Secret Forces online. So I've got so much action already going here. I figure I probably don't need the 6th spice. I think I'm going to be okay with what I've got here. Again, a little risky, Maybe not necessarily the right choice, but we go for it there. Shuttle Fleet turns up next, which is no good to me, but could be relevant later. So Ekaz goes for the High Council with the Fold Space, just kind of a bit of a nothing move. Again, Ekaz is just kind of stuck in a bit of a rut here. Interesting enough, so Baron actually tables his power play. He had it in his hand, didn't end up using it in the end, which is interesting. So keeps hold of it. I guess maybe not entirely committal where to use it. There are worlds maybe where spacing could get in funky. There's worlds he might decide to go for the Emperor Alliance, and obviously he still needs to make progress with the Bene Gesserit as well, so I don't hate it. Picks up illicit dealings, which means he gets all the bonus spice with the Talactor as well. Pretty standard Baron stuff, just intriguing his way to all of the goodies. I mean, what are you going to do, kids? You know, when it kind of falls into place like this, you know, it's the way it goes, and that's how the Baron plays, you know? But he knows obviously he's not winning this conflict anymore, so he's going to get a refund at least on Hardy Warriors, but it's not done a whole lot. Would have been nice to have tried to take that alliance away from him, because I'm pretty sure, especially once you got Chow Murkit, I think Page is just favourite to win this game now, and I don't think we're going to be able to stop him here. So yeah, but yeah, illicit dealings takes the spice away from Yellow, which is brutal. Like, what are you going to do about that? You know, absolutely nothing. So all looking pretty good for Patience at this point. Reveals for 5. The row's not that great, unfortunately, but there's no atomics anymore. Only Baron's got it, and he's not going to be trashing this row anytime soon. He's happy to keep it quiet, so he just goes for more liaisons, just trying to get more spice flows with Sayadina, because he's getting closer to finding a way to use her for actually cashing the point, but it is what it is. And yeah, there's the casual free card reveal for the Spiceless Flow, no High Council. Feels pretty good. And to be fair as well, as like his beast, considering that there's been no victory points I've been able to target. There's only been 2 victory points in the opening 6 rounds, and I wasn't really in a position to do anything on any of them. In fact, no, I was in no position to target any of those. Like, picking up the points of the Spiceless Flows on the side is a good way of trying to get around that. It is definitely a problem when you're playing Beast and there's just no victory points in any of the conflicts, and there's nothing much you can do about it. So, this is the advantage of taking this hybrid strategy, is it means you're not as pressurized, and you can be a bit victim to RNG a bit. So, this is kind of giving you like some extra dice rolls, if you will. Because, I could do anything first round. I had no ring, and Baron went immediately Hardy Warriors, and nothing to do this round because Ilban was clearly going for Highliner with a load of troops. I was like, oh, okay. And my garrison was empty anyway, so what are you going to do? So, this is where I tank for quite a while. Figuring out what it is I'm going to do next. I'm looking at the Talaxu track. So a reminder, I've got Breakthrough and I've got the Gruesome Sacrifice. Now, I need 2 beetles. The problem I've got, though, is that I'm never getting to 5. I'm never getting to the end of the track. It's just not possible. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think, well, what can I do here? The normal thing you would do is just use Breakthrough to go down, take the beetle, take the specimen, and get hold of the Talaxu point, which is what I was considering doing, but obviously there's no bonus spice there anymore, so it's not really doing a lot. And then the issue with that is, well, if I do that, what the heck's Gruesome Sacrifice ever doing? Absolutely nothing. I get no value in it forever because the extra specimen's never going to get me to the end of the track. The extra beetles never going to get me to the track, so I'm kind of thinking ahead of time here, and I have a pretty healthy tank about it. I'm looking at the troop situation as well. I am ahead of Baron technically with my Dreadnought, but obviously I'm a long way behind in this game, so I've got to go pretty heavy here. So I end up after a pretty long tank. I'm also considering going up as well for the card trash, and then maybe finding my Talaxu Beetle with like an experimentation. I've still got to cash in smuggling, remember. I still haven't gone there yet, and so it's obvious for me to experiment there at some point, cash in the bump. But then now it's also, I don't get a lot of value from the shipping because I don't really need the troops. I kind of would rather, I've got no action, so I've kind of just got to get them immediately, and I can get troops elsewhere. The Spice isn't doing a whole lot for me, and what's the bump doing? I've got no alliance is the challenge, and I've got Spice Satellites, so I'm kind of at a point where I don't even think I really need to ship anymore. It's kind of doing a whole lot of nothing. But the card trash is no good, because like, what am I going to trash? The Spice Must Flow card? I could trash the Spice Must Flow card, but I'm getting more and more concerned that Ilban has cornered the market. And obviously, if I can buy this Spice Must Flow and 1 more, it's pretty hard for Ilban to buy 2 more Spice Must Flows before this game is over. And so if he has got Corner Market, then at least I'm denting half of that. And maybe I might find Corner Market. You never know. So after a pretty healthy tank, we take the bump down. We take the troops into garrison, which raises some eyebrows, but I don't think it's that outrageous a situation. Again, kind of banking on the next conflict, thinking, well, I've got Gruesome. Gruesome gets me my bump anyways. The specimens, unfortunately, aren't going to do a whole lot, but basically I'm just using the troops to help certify and just cement the next conflict, because I know my ring's coming. I know that Boundless Ambition is coming. So I've got all sorts of options here. So this is pretty disgusting as well here. So we go to combat. Baron has Allied Armada for the one sword. The one sword advantage on Ilban, and Ilban has 4 intrigues and passes. Absolutely disgusting. What do you do about that? So at this point, when Baron wins this conflict, I say that, right, the game is over. Patience is going to win this game, almost certainly. So now I'm basically just trying to get to second place, which I don't think is that unreasonable a thing to consider. Like, you can't win every game. I think Badger is kind of is falling behind. I'm banking everything on this conflict and getting in front. So basically, at this point, I'm just thinking I've just got to beat Dinosaur now, and I just got to get second place. I don't think I can ever win this anymore. I think it's pretty much over. So we go to the tier 3s on round 7, and it is Economic Supremacy, which is interesting because, well, as it turns out, I've got a lot of resources, and I don't need to go Highliner to win this conflict. We pull a Boundless Ambition, which is good. Shout out Mapes is there as well, some backup. We've obviously got the extra troops as well from the Emperor ready and rocking and rolling. So this is a great opportunity for me. I don't have any water. Typically with Boundless Ambition, you want to go Hardy Warriors, so that you can get use your water to get troops. It's the one resource that you don't need to pay anything for. And obviously second place, the extra point is probably good for Baron actually as well, because he's never going to win this conflict because I'm just going to go all in. But Baron's almost certainly getting the second point here. So again, at this point, I'm like, Baron's Patience has won this game. I'm not really going to ever try and contest him anymore. I think it's a waste of time. I can't contest him anything anyways, unless somehow Red finds a way to like stop the Emperor Alliance, the Spacing Guild Alliance, I should say. But other than that, I've got nothing I can do with the Baron, and unless someone else does something crazy, he just wins, which seemed fairly reasonable. Now again, we've only got 2 actions, which is a problem. Also, by the way, I pulled no council access, so I can't even go Swordmaster if I wanted to. It's just kind of funny here. So I'm like, well, I've got 2 actions. So what I want to do here, I have smuggling, and I can definitely smuggle now, and that is an option for me. The question is, what am I doing with this? If I want to win this conflict, I have to just go all in right now and not stop. So I'm like, well, okay, smuggling's I'm not getting great value out of it because the bump's doing nothing for me, which is kind of half the reason you ship. So I don't bother. I'm like, well, okay, so be it. Let's just go in here and just throw dudes in as hard and as fast as I can. So we go Balance Ambition. We go to the Steel Suits. So this is discussing this. So we turn Steel Suits into Highliner, basically. We get 2 troops deployed from the space, which is my Dreadnought and a troop. I get 2 troops from the Ring ability, which gives that. Then comes the Finesse, so down and up with the Emperor, the Lannister special in his own tournament, getting 2 more dudes here. So we turn Steel Suit into 13 combat power, and we get the water as well. Unfortunately, the bump's doing a whole lot of nothing, but what can you really do? But the water can be useful as well later on. Like, it's really hard for me to find ways where I say win this conflict and the next one. Although if I did manage to do that, I could actually possibly win the game. But I've basically just got to go in here and say, well, what the heck are you going to do? They've all got massive action economy on me, so I'm just forced to put dudes in early. But at least I've got Gruesome, so I can go in heavy with troops. And then I can use Gruesome to kind of get some recompenses. So it's not the worst. So now the fun begins with Armored Ekaz. He figures, well, I'm in such a bad state here, I've probably got to roll some dice, which is what he ends up deciding to do here. He has the experimentation here, so he's eyeing up the double bump here, basically, the double wild bump, and he's figuring, well, it's almost certainly Patience is going to win this game. Like, it's almost guaranteed. So he figures, well, if we're going to stop this, we probably got to stop it now. Also, him pulling invasion ships is slightly scary and pretty uncomfortable for me. And I'm like, oh, don't really like you doing that. Because you might have a certain card that lets you just throw dudes in here and make my life really awkward. And I'm kind of hoping you don't do that right now, but it's not a good conflict for you because you only get 1 point. That's the weird thing as well for this conflict. This conflict is really strange, and it's one of the reasons I like economic, because it has different value to different people. Not everyone can take the 3 points. You need a load of spare resources. I'm in a position where I can do that, but no one else can get 3 points here, so it's more valuable to me than anywhere else. And this does play a part in this round a little bit later on here. So EKAZ figures, right, we got to stop this, and we have to go all in here and just try and stop Patience and win the game, which is great for me. I can't stop him. I need someone else to try and slow Patience down. So EKAZ decides he's the one who's going to go for it here. Usually when people do that, they have a plan as well, but it's pretty dangerous because, of course, Baron Harkonnen has power play, but he really doesn't want to use power play to fold space. It's horrible. So he ends up going to selective breeding because, of course, Baron wants to just pick up the Spice Must Flow here. Baron wants to end this game right now, basically. He's got 7 victory points. If he gets Spice Must Flow, that's 8. If he gets second in the conflict, that's 9. And if he has an intrigue that gets him to 10, he just wins the game on the spot. Gives up Memo Corzo, which is pretty interesting. Gives it up to Ilban, which is not good for me. Makes me a little bit nervous with the Emperor Alliance here. But takes the bump there. And obviously, so he's going to be looking to spread his influence out. So I'm not too worried about my alliance, but I got to be a little bit wary here. So it comes to me. We have a bit of a consideration about obviously what we want to do here. And again, I'm like, well, I've just got to go all in this combat. Like, these 3 victory points are just too important. I'm again a little bit nervous about going to secrets. I'm a bit nervous about leaving secrets open to the Baron. If I go to Carfag, thing is, because I've taken the specimens, it is absolutely imperative now that I get Gruesome Sacrifice off. If I was to go to Carfag and then Baron went to secrets, I lose Gruesome Sacrifice. It's an absolute catastrophe for me because I'm never getting that Talaxu point, and I just lose it forever. So it's really, really difficult. The problem is, though, it's like, well, what else am I doing here with the rest of my round? Like, Siege, the water's not doing anything. I'm never getting to Research Station here unless I go there immediately. And what am I going to Research Station for? Not a whole lot. Arakeen is tempting, but obviously my Signet Ring is in my hand, is in my deck to draw. My Diplo's in there as well, and I'm really scared to lose any of that. So I don't really want to draw. Everything's got some trickiness here, but I figure, well, he also remembers he's got to pay 3 spices for his invasion ships. He hadn't done that yet, so that was a little silly of him. But yeah, so kind of interesting spot for myself. And I just forget, yeah, the combat's too important. I'm just going to go in. And the idea is what I'm going to look to do is just send in 3 troops. You shut up, mate, to actually pull one of those troops out and put it back in my garrison for next round and still use Gruesome Sacrifice in order to take the conflict and just go all in here. Just pure, unadulterated greed is really dangerous because I'm figuring, well, there's a lot of scary things that can happen here, and I'm not guaranteed to win this conflict. But this is where I then start it. Okay, let's look at the situation, the conflict here. So I can win all 3 points here. The problem is, who else can win 3 points here? And like, I've got him really heavy, and I've got intrigues. I've not really used many intrigues this game, so it's likely I've got some combat stuff here. And like, Baron's only got 1 intrigue, so I don't think he can really fight me. EKAZ can't get the 6 spice. He can't go to Highliner, and he's got no real reason to go Hardy Warriors anyway. So I figure I can be pretty liberal in this conflict here. But I do sit here for a while. I have a good tank for like about 3 minutes, I think it is. I think about the situation, like, what's my deck? What am I going to draw into? I've got a 4th card that I bought that I don't even remember what it is because I hadn't been paying attention, which I kind of hadn't. But we end up going to Carfag anyways, figuring, well, I could find a decent intrigue. We pull Quid Pro Quo, which is doing absolutely nothing for us. I'm like, ah, great. And the problem is above Quid Pro Quo is I can't even spend it to protect the rest of my hand, because if I do, I lose the victory point for the conflict. So about as bad an intrigue I can draw. Feels like I've said that a few times in this game. EKAZ goes with the in the shadows, looking to obviously take the Space Alliance away from the Baron, basically praying that he does not have power play in his hand. And just immediately takes him there. But he's got a gamble here. He can't protect his own Bene Gesserit alliance anyways, and he can probably pick up the Emperor point from somewhere, but
if he wants to win the game, Ekaz has just got to roll dice now, and that's kind of where he's at here. So he does go take the alliance temporarily, which is good for me. It's good for Ilban. Ekaz is the only person that can really do anything about Patience and just stop him from just winning this game, almost guaranteed, really. So Baron ends up going for the secrets here. So he does get the secret steal on me. I'm like, oh man. And this is again the worst situation. If I lose Gruesome Sacrifice, I'm just completely dead in the water here. And it's brutal as well because I'm not even really trying to win the game at this point. I'm just trying to more or less secure second place. I don't think I can win it unless Ekaz holds off in this alliance. But it's interesting that he went secrets and didn't power play fold space. You think if he's got power play for fold, he would have just hit fold space immediately. He'd feel forced to. So it's pretty clear that he hasn't yet drawn it. He does get the steal from me, and he pulls my ambush card, which is, I'm like, oh, that's really awkward. Because now, like, again, I want to take a troop away and still use Gruesome Sacrifice, but now Baron I know he's got at least 4 swords in his hand, and it now gets a little awkward, and like, not too pleasant. Not too pleasant at all. And again, also my intrigues are just kind of filler cards at this point, not really doing a whole lot. Ilban goes to Imperial Basin with no bonus spice for, I think, the 3rd or maybe 4th time in this game. It is crazy how many times that he had to do this. It's kind of nuts. So we obviously reveal, get the specimen. But I decide I'm going to gamble anyways. And again, I'm still in this weird spot where, like, Baron could make my life difficult, but he's not yet deployed. And I'm figuring, well, let's look at Ekaz. The thing is, Ekaz at this point, I don't think has any interest in actually trying to win this conflict. Because again, as it currently stands, if Ekaz wins this conflict, he gets a point. If he gets second place, he gets a point. So the only reason that Badger would ever have to stop me winning this conflict is just simply to just stop me from scoring points. And I don't think Badger would ever do that in this situation. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, I'm not remotely a threat to win this. We pick up Court Intrigue. I think if it's still there, I might as well. I've got 4 Persuasion. What the hell? I might be able to use it. Again, gives me that Emperor Insurance just in case. Voice, I might use it one day. You never know. But yeah, so I decided to go still all ingredient, thinking, well, if I do, and this is what is also as extra meta fun here. If I know that Green took ambush from me, and he knows he took ambush from me, and I still take a troop back out of the conflict, like, that's me saying, I know you've got 4 swords, I don't care, because I've got backup. So I'm kind of trying to, like, pseudo bluff Baron from doing anything, like, crazy outrageous. The concern for me is that those two are going to fight each other for second place. And then because I would win the conflict for sure, but because I'm going to Gruesome, I'm going to lose strength, and it's going to draw me into it. And there are worlds where I Gruesome, and they end up being able to stop me in the conflict, especially Baron. If Baron can stop me winning the conflict, like, the game just ends on the spot and I'm dead. So there is definite risk here to what I'm looking to do. But it's also, again, specifically to Baron, like, he knows he just took damage from me, and I'm still taking troops out of the conflict. Like, it's pretty ballsy. And I'm kind of saying, all right, do your worst. Like, I don't care. I'm pretty confident I'm going to win this here. And I've still got 18 strength as it stands, so I'm pretty happy with this. Ekaz reveals 5 strength here, by the way, on swords, which is disgusting. I'm like, oh my god. A Gruesome's going to take me down to 14. But Ekaz has no spice, so he would need 2 battle intrigues, like both tacticians or something, to beat me. And again, why would Badger ever bother spending intrigues to stop me winning this conflict? He gets no benefit himself, so I'm basically hoping that Baron hasn't got some crazy way to get a load of troops. I'm terrified Baron's got, like, reinforcements here, and he goes in to, like, pick up the spice at Hager Basin and reinforcements or something. And I'm just like, this could get really ugly. Or maybe he Hardy Warriors and has reinforcements, and I'm just like, well, this is pretty bad. And he just wins, basically. But he ends up going for Hager Basin, and he goes Hager Basin for a specific reason. And there's something crazy that happened in this match here. It didn't matter in the end. But there was some madness that happened here. So he goes Hager Basin, picking up the spice here, and I'm thinking, okay, but Al Armada's already gone. But Private Army is obviously still sitting there. and that's pretty uncomfortable. And there's 2 of those in the game. Does he have both? Is he gonna like actually try to figure out a way? Does he have like private army and like maybe demand respect or to the victor and use that to win this conflict? Like, it's not. I'm not guaranteed. It's again, it's awkward. If I don't use gruesome sacrifice, I win the conflict for sure. But using gruesome here puts doubt into whether I'm going to win this. It is a risk. I'm rolling some dice here, but I figure, what are you going to do? And I go for it here. Baron ends up putting in 1 troop, which is good. I'm thinking, well, he could have second wave and reinforcements. That would be pretty disgusting. And it's Baron. Baron can have kind of anything here. Ilban tanks for a while. He just ends up going to fold space, picking up the spice, obviously looking to power his memo quarters. And then if Baron reveals for a lot of persuasion, he gets his spice plus flow. So Baron is now at 8 points. And feeling pretty good here about himself. With Chow Murky as well, he is, again, huge favourite. Second spice plus flow for Ilban, so he's fairly happy. And then the madness begins, and this was a pretty crazy set of events. So the combat starts here. It's on me first, and it's awkward. Like, I want to wait to see what happens in the conflict, but if I pass, and Badger passes, and Patience passes, like, I never get any value out of Gruesome Sacrifice. Like, I could in theory use it next round, but the problem is that I want to use it now while the troops are deployed and out there, and it gives me a remote chance of maybe I can try to win the next round's conflict in some crazy world. So I gruesome immediately, just complete, like, just saying, all right, do your worst here. Unfortunately, again, the specimens are doing nothing. I can't spend them. I don't have the card that lets me do that, which is pretty unfortunate. And I basically just shut my eyes and play, please don't stop me. So Badger passes. He says he passes for now, specifically here. And then the fun begins. Patience ambushes with my card there, so he gets the +4. He has War Chest as well, so gets in front here. And I'm just like, oh my holy god. And I'm like, oh, this is getting pretty unpleasant. I obviously pass still. And then what ends up happening is, so Badger passes because he has no combat. And the thing is, what ended up happening is that his Patience actually mistook my troops for the dinosaurs in some. It was crazy. For some reason, he thought that like the Ilban had deployed his troops, and it was actually me. I don't know why he thought that, because it turns out that was his card. He had Seed Must Awaken, and if he had spent that before the conflict, and he gets second place, he just wins this. He gets 10 points. Game's over. He wins. No one else can get to 11 points. It's impossible. But for some reason, he didn't play. Also, by the way, he had War Chest along with that as well, which is pretty disgusting. So yeah, Patience just mistook the battlefield for whatever reason, thought that Dinosaur was going to get it, or something crazy. He like thought the game was going to end and then didn't, just got completely confused in the situation and didn't play Seed Must Awaken. So I'm like, okay, guess we're going around. As it turns out, this is an absolute disaster for me, because I'm like, well, this is not good, because how am I ever gonna because the way, if the round had ended then, I get 10 points. I've got Spy Satellites, I get 3 from the conflict, I get 2 from Spy Satellites, so I'm at 10 points. I can't beat Patience, so I'm not trying to anymore. And I figure, well, I'm good for second place, because I don't think Dinosaur can beat me here. I don't think he's ever going to catch up, and he's not got memo quarters online, that sort of thing. So, kind of madness here. But yeah, so that's how it was. So we end up playing an 8th round, which we weren't meant to do. But Patience just completely missed it, and I don't know how he did, but hey-ho. I'm sure maybe he'll spot it in the comments and explain what's going on there, because I didn't quite understand. So anyway, so round 8, not meant to happen. We take Imperial Basin for just spice reasons, and Carthag is the conflict here. So my hand is sad. What am I meant to do with this? It's absolutely brutal. I could just reveal and take the Spice Must Flow, and get to 11 points and hope that's enough. I can't quite do that. It doesn't really make any damn bit of sense here. Also, worth noting at this point, so it's kind of funny. At this game so far, I have trashed 0 cards. ECAS has trashed, I think, 9? Maybe 10? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Absolutely nuts. At this point, I think he has running like a 6-card deck. It's two completely different strategies. So we open up with Mentat. hoping to find something I can use. I peel off Guild Bankers with Leet Kynes again. I'm like, oh my goodness me. So I know I'm getting the second point now. I'm getting the Spiceless Flow points. So I'm going to get to 11. The problem is, how do I ever get more than 11 points? Is there any way for me to get more than 11 points? The answer is no. There is no way for me to get to 12 points at all. It's just impossible, unless I fluke an intrigue that lets me... But what intrigue could I find? Call the Market, basically, is about the only intrigue I can think of that gets me there. Maybe if I somehow find Grand Conspiracy, but I still have to get my other Dreadnoughts, which I don't have the money for, or High Council, which I don't have the money for. So I'm basically just stuck at 11. It's pretty agonizing. There's not really a lot else I can really do here. And I'm just kind of like, well, you know, Baron. We know Baron's on 10 points with Chow Murky anyway, so like the game is pretty much done here. And also the thing to worth note as well, and this was admitted a mistake from Badger here. Of course, the problem with is that you remember that power play card that Baron picked up and revealed earlier and didn't play it. Well, Badger kind of forgot, and he didn't remember who had power play. So when he could have gone to Fold Space and just cement that alliance, unfortunately, he doesn't. He goes to instead of shipping, and so Baron just barrels Fold Space of it and takes alliance back, and now the game is truly over. Because he's now got 11 points in Chow Murky. No one's ever getting to 12, so the game is over at this point. Nothing anyone can do about it. It's apart from some crazy madness, it's over. So now I'm like, okay, it's just second place. I've got to get 11 points and just try to gather as much spice as I can with all of those mining access cards that I'm currently holding in my hand. So we carry on around. Ilban now trying to take advantage of Ekaz here and threatening the alliance here. It's pretty risky him doing this, because obviously, like, he wants to get hold of Shuttle Fleet, though, because he's got memo quarters. If he can get Shuttle Fleet, he can get his Fremen and Emperor bumps. I was considering going Wealth just to try and block Ilban from getting Shuttle Fleet, basically. Because at this point, I'm just trying to be in front of Dinosaur. That's the only objective I've got here. And he does raid. So this is pretty brutal as well. So what ended up happening, you notice red there has taken a load of resources. If we back it up a little bit here, at the end of the last conflict, and I'm wondering if anyone here noticed this, obviously we took all our stuff here, Badger also forgot to take third place resources. Because he was definitely third, and he forgot to take his 2 Spice and his 2 Solari. And this turned out to be absolutely key. Because if we just go through the rest of the turns here quickly, Ilban goes Secrets, threatening the Alliance, gets the point of Saidina. I just do basically a whole lot of nothing. I just go Carthag, trying to find interesting things. I find Choam shares, of course, right after finding, having paid 6 Solari for the point with economic supremacy. So that feels great. I got no way to get the money. So yeah, Ekaz is like, well, I should have had the spice. And what he would have done at the very beginning of his round is he had glimpsed the path. He would have spent the spice to get the wall in the card draw. He's got 2 cards. One of them is in the shadows. And if he is in the shadows, he saves the alliance. And of course, he pulls it. So yeah, unfortunately, Badger forgetting to take the resources means he cannot get. He leaves in the shadows in his deck, which would have saved the Emperor Alliance and would have changed a lot in this game as well. That error from Badger means Patience just wins the game, and no one can stop him now anymore. It's just over. So feels pretty bad. What can you do? The answer is not a lot. So just research station for Ekaz here. Baron just plays his He Must Awaken card. Game is over. And we just kind of speed through the rest of this now. He does voice here. And funnily enough, so for I think the 3rd or 4th time, Baron blocks smuggling, and I never went there. I didn't have any access to go there anyways. I know he's blocking me from there. I don't really know what I'm ever doing there. I guess he had nothing really else to do at this point. He's like, what the hell? So Ilban goes to the tech negotiation to pick up the shuttle fleet. So Memical is now online. I'm like, great, he's got 10 points. I'm going to have 11. So I've just got to try and find as much spice as I can now. I figure, well, I can do it from combat. So that's what I do. And I just go wealth. I got nothing else to do at this point. I suppose I could have gone Hardy Warriors to send more troops in. But I'm like, I'm never beating Baron at this point. I don't think so. I guess I could have done that. I was like, well, I don't care about Baron anymore. It's irrelevant. My job is to stop yellow. And the way for me to stop yellow is just to block up wealth and prevent any kind of like strong arming wealth or anything like that. Just protect my alliance. Because if I lose that, I lose to yellow every time. And he had his Diplo card. So he just goes to Steel Suits. Just picking up war. Nothing else to do here. And we just kind of whiz through our turns. I pick up the second Spiceless Flow with Guild Bankers and Leah again. That is absolutely beautiful. Getting ourselves to 11 points, but we know we can't win, so we're just hoping for second place. Ekaz reveals for 6 in the Spiceless Flow. Nothing he can do. Been a rotten old game for Badger. It's been pretty brutal for him. He's done what he could. And basically, combat resolves. Nothing else anyone else to do. I tie with Baron. No, I don't. Ekaz wins the conflict, so he gets hold of Carthag in 2 points, getting himself up to 9 points, a bit more respectable. Baron gets the Spice and Intrigue, which doesn't matter because he's already won. And we get the free Spice, which is important because it means I'm ahead of Ilban in case of resources, which is good because Ilban had Call of the Market, as I expected. And the great thing is, because I bought the second Spiceless Flow, Dinosaur only gets 1 point from it. Otherwise, he would have won the game. But my Guild Bankers Liet Kind's denying it, so forcing a second place for me, which isn't too bad. So Patience wins with 11 and Chow Murky. I don't even know what his intrigue, I think, was nothing interesting. Grand Conspiracy was in Ekaz's hands, by the way, which is interesting. He does pick up a point for that, courtesy of the Persuasion, High Council, and the Spiceless Flow in his hand. So he gets a bonus point out of that. Badger crawling his way to 10 points here. But a fairly pretty conclusive win for Patience. Badger was trying to play the role of upsetter, and I mean, the way I look at it is if Badger had actually managed to take that alliance, I would actually have won the game. As it was, we get second place, which is fine. Like, I'm not really expecting to win any of these games, to be honest. I just haven't got a chance to play many of these. But Patience wins it, ran pretty decent. Like, the game should have ended around earlier, but he still won anyways. He was, I think, way in front for a lot of this, and managing to deny Ilban the extra point from Call on the Market, which cost him a lot of points as well. Interesting as well, so Sonic Snoopers also turned up at the very end here, and I was trying to think, is there any way I can get that to, like, just recycle? Because obviously I've got showroom shares. These entries are doing absolutely nothing. I'm thinking, well, maybe I can get up there and just cycle out intrigues, but it would have come with the Spiceless Flow point, and I just couldn't justify that, so we'll take what we can get. That's the final standings of the game. It was a better game. I mean, it was much better than the first game I played. It was a complete nothing burger. And considering I've played 2 games of Dune Imperium in like 6 weeks, I mean, I feel like I could have done worse. So that is all of that. We'll do more of these as we go through. I'll also try and cover some from other groups as well. Again, just trying to get my setup up and running, all that lovely good stuff. But other than that, well, thank you for watching. I've got to edit this together. Got to remember how to edit videos now. It's been so long, kids. I'm so sorry. But that is going to be that. So, yeah, congrats to Patience. I'm sure there'll be thoughts on the video as we go. And obviously, with thoughts on the moves. Could I win this game? I don't think so. I don't think I was ever getting to 12 points this game. And if you got 11 in Chow Murky, you're typically pretty good. And you're going to win more often than not. So, shame. If Badger remembered to take his resources, I might actually have pinched this, but I can't control that. What can you do? So thank you very much for watching. Obviously, myself, CJ, and others will be getting more content of the Salt Throne competition as we go. And I say I'll try and cover more games, a bit more my normal fashion. But again, when I'm in games that I've been a part of, obviously it's going to be a little bit of a different kind of format with how we do the reviews here. And me trying, I think I played all right in this game. I can't really complain. I get a second place. Like, it's good enough for me. Like, I'm out the competition at this point, basically. But I'll take the second place. I can live with that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Anyways, we'll get more content on the channel. Obviously, we've got the Discord, we've got our Patreon, all that lovely good stuff. I'm on Ko-Fi. It's all in the links below. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and we'll get more content from the Salt Throne tournament. I have no idea who's going to win it, but it's not going to be me. Take care, everyone.